Hello people, my name is Juice and so far I have survived for 80 days, the longest I've ever been able to stay alive in a hardcore world ever, period. Let's see if I can go a bit further. I'm beginning day 81 at the anvil, curiously looking at the outcome enchantments of combining certain tools. Something I learnt was that you can't combine different tool classes with one another. I thought for sure I'd be able to make a half diamond, half iron ultimate pickaxe, but apparently not. I've got far enough in the game to have made an end chest, something I've never done, and is why here I didn't realise I needed to have silk touch to pick it up. At the time I was annoyed because I thought I'd lost my eyes of ender inside the chest. Thanks to my clerics however, obtaining more ender pearls to convert into eyes of ender was an easy enough task, and with enough spare obsidian lying around I was able to craft a second end chest, which to my surprise still contained the eyes of ender I thought I'd lost for good. Ender chest issues aside, for these next 20 days, or within these next 20 days, I'd like to finally make the leap and create an iron farm. And you probably won't be surprised to hear I've never attempted making one, and to be honest, the thought of trying intimidates me, but I want lots of iron, so I'm going to have to try. And it's what has led me to this abandoned mineshaft in the Badlands biome. I'm trying to obtain as many rails as possible so I can move villagers around with minecarts, because apparently that's the best way to do so. The mineshaft has a lot of chests in minecarts around, and in one of them was some glowberries, one of the new additions to the game. Day 82, I'm still in the abandoned mineshaft collecting rails and pilfering chests for more rails. This is saving me a lot of iron I don't have, that I would need to have in order to make these. And so when I head back to the base with a full inventory, I'm pleased with my decision to have explored the mineshaft. The rest of the day after this is spent down in the mines gathering resources. Again, I'm restocking on stone I always seem to be running low on, and I'm sure we'll be building more nether portals in the near future, so having the blocks available to create safe portal areas inside the nether is always handy. I did find an amethyst geode however, so that made some of the time less monotonous. It's our first of the world, like you're probably going to hear me say a lot more times. And that near future I spoke about yesterday has come about now on day 83. How could I have forgotten the Badlands portal area is incomplete? I still have a load of stone slabs to place to make the area unspawnable. I don't know if anyone else finds this, but filling in an area with blocks is a satisfying feeling. I feel like it should be included in one of those oddly satisfying videos that are floating around the internet. Unfortunately I couldn't do it all in one go, as I didn't bring enough slabs with me. So I spent 10 minutes making the ceiling height a couple of blocks higher to give myself some headroom, and then it was back to the mines collecting enough stone bricks to finish the portal area. Day 84 I finished the flooring of the portal area and move on to doubling up the perimeter of the square, so that when I put the wall blocks in place there isn't going to be a half block gap between the top of the slabs and the bottom of the wall. With the nether portal area at a good enough place to feel safe in, I opt for a change of pace in our sugarcane farm. These lot had grown a while ago and I've kept meaning to harvest them, but I only seem to remember that when I'm in the middle of another job. And while I'm doing tasks that need to be done, I might as well breed the cows too. I've been continuing to feed them wheat to grow their numbers, but not nearly as often as before now that I have a lot of books to keep me going. But I know that I will need to replenish my book supply again at some point or other, and having enough cows to produce a good quantity of leather is going to save time down the road. Oh, and the sheep I breed even less than the cows. In fact, not at all. So what you're witnessing on screen is rare footage. Day 85, I'm progressing through the world at a steady rate, and a point of that progression is getting tired of using your own feet and finding ways in which you don't have to run around and instead use a faster mode of transportation. Horses. If we're being honest with each other, which I like to think we are, I have a confession in that I don't know how to tame a horse, and it resulted in me having to look it up. Look, I've never got particularly far in the game, as I've told you several times, and I'm probably going to tell you several more times, so don't judge me. And judge me you shouldn't, because I got over the learning curve and tamed my stallion of a choice. And once that happened, I was away with the wind. To my limited knowledge, this is a brilliant horse, fast as lightning, agile as flowing water. So I donned him with diamond armour I'd found in the nether fortress and gave him a name. From this day, he shall be known as Makishima. And for the record, let it be known, I'm acting according to my own will. Day 86, and I'm making improvements to the staircase down to the mines. I say improvements, all I'm doing is widening it by a block, and it's not for myself I'm doing this for, but for Makishima. I'd like to be able to ride him up and down the stairs, but unfortunately he's a hefty lad and needs more room before that's a thing. But it's nothing I can't remedy, and now we have a horse travelling to depths no horse has ever gone before. I've been waiting for glowberries to appear on these vines for days, not realising that I needed to use bone meal in order for the berries to grow. I'm getting closer to the point of taking on building an iron farm. Here's a look at the chest with most of the materials gathered for the build. I still need a few things, but let it be known I'm still going to attempt to build an iron farm, and I'm in no way putting it off. Day 87. I know this is going to appear as though I did this on purpose, but it really wasn't. Genuinely. I didn't mean to replace Makishima's name with this. There we go. That's better. Honest mistake. Honest mistake. I need another 3 hoppers for the iron farm, except I've got no more iron to do that with. Oh, the irony. And as you can see, I'm using caveman tactics to gather what I need. Though, to be fair, these caveman tactics are going to be the source of how the iron farm works. It just won't be me manually disposing of these guys. It'll be automated. There we go. I think we've got everything we need for the build. The only things left should be the minecarts and rails, which I have in another chest. Day 88. We're heading out of the base because I haven't got anything I need for the iron farm. I need glass, and for some reason I have no sand or glass blocks in amongst the thousands of items I own. With all the sand gathered, all I need to do is wait for it to smelt into glass. So I'm passing the time with tasks I don't need to perform. I'm talking harvesting the netherwort farm and the wheat farm, and with procrastination taking up the rest of the daylight hours, it isn't until night time that I finally get to work on the iron farm. A good portion at that time was deciding on where to position the farm, and after some internal deliberation I settled for above the nearby lake. I've gone with deep slate blocks for 2 reasons. The first is because they look great. I don't think anyone can argue with that. The second is because the person in the tutorial I'm watching on YouTube, that's Wattles, is using them, and I'm feeling heavily influenced to do the same. I'm experiencing firsthand the power of influencer title. Day 89. I have no way of accessing the build once I return to ground level. I towered up on dirt to get here, so I'm working on a temporary staircase to remedy the towering up to reach the farm situation every time. Plus, if I'm going to get villagers up into the farm, I'm going to need something more accessible than a single block tower. Speaking of villagers, I have a load of spare bread in storage that I'm never going to use for myself, so I'm giving it to the villagers to boost their numbers. Their children will be the fuel that ignites the enterprise of a new iron-filled era. The next stage of the build included no building at all, but rather zombie luring. You see, I need one of these guys to be in the farm round the clock to constantly scare the villagers into spawning iron golems. The farm works on fear, much like the Monsters Inc. factory. The only issue is that this guy will despawn after a while, and that will ruin the mechanics of the farm. The way to prevent this, so I'm told, is to name the mob via a name tag. It gives them both an identity and a voice. Day 90 started unexpectedly. I thought normal rails were going to be enough to have a minecart run from point A to point B, but they're not, because I didn't account for gravity. The minecart is going to need to run uphill, meaning I need power rails instead. To craft powered rails you need gold, a material I have even less of than iron, so you can imagine my face when I came to learn of this. But fortunately I've endured enough mining sessions to have acquired, to my surprise, enough gold to craft the amount of powered rails needed. Rails in place, the next thing was what I had been dreading most of the build, and what has always been putting me off creating an iron farm, and that is transporting the villagers. The plan was simple: create a fenced area outside the entrance to the village breeder, then place a boat to trap the villager, and then place a functional block that a villager can assign themselves to in order to gain a profession. In this case, the functional block was a cauldron, and this will entice a villager out of the breeder to the functional block where I can hopefully trap him in the boat. Okay, I've hit a problem and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. The cart isn't taking the villager up the stairs. What do I do? Okay, I found out what was wrong, and it really didn't take much time once I thought about it. It's all in the name powered rails. They're powered and therefore will need a power source. In this instance, that takes the form of redstone torches. And finally, with everything in place, the cart worked like a charm. And now we have our first villager. 2 more to go. Yes! Day 91 consisted of villager transportation, and after that first one, it wasn't difficult to follow through with the others. It was just a case of repeating the plan. Lure the villagers out of the breeder into the boat, row the boat across land from the breeder to the minecart track, get the villager into the minecart, push the minecart to the powered rails, and let them do the rest of the work. Simple. Day 92. The hardest part of the build was done. Now what was left was creating the area for where the iron golems were going to spawn. It was a fairly straightforward build, incorporating the usual flowing water that is used to push the spawned iron golems into a pit of lava for them to burn to death, and for their items to be filtered down into the chests waiting below. After the farm was complete, I waited for a minute or two to check if it worked. I have an irrational fear that the game mechanics that allow farms like these to work for some reason won't work for me. Is that just me, or does anyone else get that? Because I always feel like what I see on YouTube, what I see other people doing their tutorials, just isn't going to work for me. I don't know why. And I am pleased to report that my fear was unfounded. And you know, fun isn't something one considers when building an iron farm, but this does put a smile on my face. Day 93, my new iron farm will collect iron for us automatically. We'll never have to work another day in our life for it. However, the farm will only continue to collect iron for us for as long as we stay within the area, and so I took it upon myself to stay within the base and carry out chores that needed doing. These tasks were as follows: harvesting the sugarcane, harvesting the bamboo, harvesting the nether wart, killing iron golems that were crowding the area with their presence, not for their iron, watching the iron farm at work from a distance and thinking self-infatuated thoughts, villager trading, harvesting the watermelons, and breeding the cows. Day 94, I'm taking part in the redundant task of killing iron golems again. I shouldn't be doing this, but then I suppose that is what I get for keeping the beds inside of the village breeder, spawning iron golems. I should probably clarify, I'm not a bad person. You know, says every bad person ever, I know, but I'm simply afraid that I'll accidentally hit one of them and they'll kill me in retaliation. So really it's just self-defense. It's nothing more, it's nothing less. It's not personal, it's self-defense. The rest of the day was spent chopping logs from our spruce trees. This took most of the day and meant I could stay within our base, allowing the iron farm to build up with more iron. Halfway through the process, a wandering trader wandered into the base and began chanting my name at the top of his lungs. Of all the sales he offered, not a single one stood out. The leads in his hand, however, did. Come here, you. Don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. Aha! Since restricting myself to the base, I'm now wanting to do things outside of the base more than ever. I have exploration plans tomorrow, so tonight I'm checking up on the iron farm for the first time since its completion, and to my astonishment, we have 2.5 stacks of iron already. Bright and early on day 95, my plans for exploration were still in place. Where will I explore? That's completely down to the eyes of Ender. Most of the video footage I've seen of people using these has been of Dreams Manhunt videos, and of course other players' speedruns. Apart from them, I don't often see people throwing these. Maybe because it's not as big of a deal as I feel it is. This is my first time following the path of an Eye of Ender, and if anything, I want to share this footage with you. The better part of 1,000 blocks later, and I've stumbled across this acacia village on the coast. I'm not going to explore it at the moment, my mind is on other things, but I'm going to come back to this at a later date. The next find was only a couple of 100 blocks away, a desert. I've been wanting to find one of these since day 35. This is incredible. There's sand everywhere. I love it! Following the Eye of Ender took me into the night and to a tiny island with a few mobs on it. I've narrowed down the stronghold's position to straight down from here, and digging straight down confirmed my suspicions. We had reached the stronghold, my first I've ever reached in any playthrough, filmed or not, and only a couple of minutes later on from then, I had found the portal room. Day 96 and I'm staircasing back up to the surface. A part of me is tempted to fill the end portal with Eyes of Enders to jump through, but saner thoughts prevailed when I realised my hardcore adventure would come to an end if I did. I do plan on coming back here, but I'm nowhere near prepared. I know there are people who could take the dragon on with nothing more than a wooden sword, but I've never fought the thing ever, so I don't have that unyielding confidence. For now, I'm towering up with blocks so I know where the place is when future me returns. More than 1,000 blocks of travel later, I'm back at the base in a ravine collecting more obsidian. No way am I going to be travelling back to the portal area or desert by boat. It's nether travel or no travel. Just ignore the fact that I've got to return to the areas by boat in order to build the portals before I can travel to those places via the nether. Day 97, so yep, I'm heading back to the portal room. It's a journey I'd rather not be taking because of its length, but I'd rather get it done now rather than later. A positive, our mob spawner is in the same direction as where we're heading, and I have a portal linking to the base of the spawner, meaning we cut out 300 or 400 blocks from the journey in a matter of half a minute's travel through the nether. I've collected enough obsidian for 2 portals, one for the desert and one for the portal room, and as I expressed earlier, I want easy access to the desert for the tens of thousands of blocks of sand. Heading through the portal, I've spawned in a relatively safe area within a nether waste biome. I'm pleasantly surprised. Back out on the open water, I'm heading for the stronghold, and the tower of cobblestone we placed on day 96 stood out like a chewed up piece of chewing gum. Easy to spot. From there, it was only a case of digging down, following my staircase down, and then building a portal right outside of the portal room. Heading through into the nether, it was surprising to find how close our stronghold portal is to the desert portal. I mean, I knew they were close, but not this close. Day 98, it's myself and Makishima the horse out on the open road. I don't know if you've noticed, but we're nearing the big 100, our first milestone of the world. Well, actually, thinking about it, day 68 was the first milestone of the series, as I passed my previous record of 67 days without dying. But the milestone that seems to be universally recognised across the 7 continents of the world in the Minecraft Hardcore series is 100 days. Our transition from double digits to triple. This isn't the best of bridges, but it does the job. The area has a lot of small twisty rivers that prevent Makishima from crossing, so it's really a bridge of convenience. Day 99, I'm not doing anything interesting on my last double-digit day of the world. Really, I'm just passing the time until tomorrow, and what better way to pass the time than spending it chopping down trees and then collecting watermelons? There's not, is there? Day 100, we have done it. We have reached the peak of the mountain. Makishima is galloping me back to the area I scouted out on day 98. Reason being, because I want to commemorate this landmark day. Using sandstone mined from the desert, I built a big 100 monument to serve as a reminder for how far we've come. When I started this series, I honestly didn't think I was going to get here, like I've said before, because I never have done. I always seem to do something stupid and die, and I'm probably going to keep bringing this up sporadically through the course of this playthrough. I've never made it as far as I've done in this hardcore world, and I think that's probably more of a poor reflection on my ability to play the game rather than the difficulty of hardcore mode. Feel free to tell me otherwise, but I'm really pleased with how far we've got so far, you know, and that's the point. I didn't think I'd get here, and now I have. All I want to do is keep going. Our next landmark day is going to be day 250. It seems so far away, but my confidence feels bolstered by what we've done. It's more than double where we are now, but I have no intention of dying. And that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you want to watch more of this series, hit the subscribe button, switch the bell on, hit that like button, and leave a comment. As for me, I'm going to see you soon. Keep it real, Juice out.